Hello, 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 hello. There we go.
Check 1, 2. Good.
I think I fixed it. Better?
One more time.
Microphone check 1, 2, 1, 2.
Cool.
No?
No, you just bring it down a little notch. You louder now.
I know.
Right.
Hold on a minute. Let me turn it down.
Hey, no. Don't mess it up. Just back your voice down. See what I got to deal with? Mr. Harvey, you see.
What you talking about, Willis?
Wyo already know. Wyo just looking like,
I gotta go check my room. I'm not messing with you.
I was here on time. Wyo came in early. Wyo. Lord, what is that? Is it? Now she got a whole frying pan on. I'm just going to mute her. Come on back, Tanya B. It's louder now, so I think she took it into the kitchen. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is the G Podcast, episode 116. Y'all give it up for 116. Yes. Mr. Harvey, you see what I got to deal with, sir? Do you see now? Do you understand?
You're doing a magnificent job.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. I'm messing with you.
Hey, I'm gonna put you on mute, Tanya B, because it's super loud now.
Okay.
So, okay, we're gonna put you on mute for a minute. Okay, hey, y'all. Here's the deal. We are trying a new system. We're actually converting over to a new system this week. It's a great system, but a couple of hiccups in it. But we will get through them. We will always get through them. So I had to say this, and coming off last week, just as we get our Super Bowl matchup, everybody is quote unquote in a happy and good mood. LA and Cincy are poised to go into the game as we tape next Sunday. Tom Brady announces his retirement. Then lo and behold, the Miami Dolphins former coach Brian Flores drops this huge class action bombshell lawsuit, including allegations of a pay to tank. The NFL calls it meritless. Then all of a sudden, as we tape today, Saturday night, they came out with a less aggressive response saying that they're going to look into it. And Mr. Harvey, as you're looking at what I'm saying or hearing what I'm saying, how can you call something meritless and you haven't even done your due diligence into what the man is saying? But we're going to get into that in a few minutes. I mean, needless to say, it's just a mess. And not to mention the Republicans are calling January 6th political discourse. I mean, there's just, I don't know what to say. I thought 2021 was FUBAR. But 2022 is, got my fingers crossed. I got the rabbit's foot. I got the Bobby Kennedy, MLK, Jesus post on the wall. I don't know, Mr. Harvey, but I'm looking forward to what you have to say. Definitely bail us out. Help us, sir. Please help us. But anyway, this is the G Podcast. Each week we do news, politics, pop culture, that piping hot tea from the one and only. Technically, what do you call it? I don't know.
He's gonna get it right.
Technically challenged.
She'll get it all. She'll get it.
But she will be back. She'll be here. The Indie Radio Chick. Check out the Bird Wire Friday and Saturday night, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Saturdays at noon. The country commentator, don't just MIA right about now, but I'm sure he's out there doing his goodwill, repping Columbus, Georgia, and Forsyth, Georgia. Ohio is somewhere celebrating the Bengals and Bootsy, So Dayton, Ohio won't be in the building this week. But, we made up for it by having the one and only YO. YO, y'all give it up for YO in the building. YO, yes. And the crowd goes wild for YO. YO, thank you so much. Thank you.
Problem.
And YO was early, y'all. YO was early, came up in here, on camera, and microphone all adjusted. Thank you so much, Poetic Peace. You got some Poetic Peace for me?
Oh, yeah, I do. You mean right now? You need it now?
I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off. But thank you so much. I do need it now. I do. But I'm going to hold off. But anyway, I'm Tommy B, your host. And, check out, I don't know if y'all had a chance to check out. Mr. Harvey was checking out a little bit of it. And we were about to do the sound check. And he said, no, man, turn the music back on. Turn the music back on. But Saturday night, Sunday morning, I host the Throwback Alley, which I mix it up from midnight to 6 a.m. at castropolis.net. You can go there. And on Sundays, you can listen to castropolis.net with my hip hop, R&B club and house, a little bit of reggae, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. But again, midnight to 6, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Sundays, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a nice compliment for the Birdwire, which comes on, of course, Birdwire is Friday, Saturday night from 8 until midnight. And on Saturday night, Sunday morning, I'm right after the Birdwire. So definitely check that out. And, y'all, here's the deal. First of all, I got to say, let me do my quick introduction of Harold Michael Harvey. He's an author, political and legal analyst. His books include My C.T. Vivian Story, Freaknik Lawyer, The Duke of 8th and Vine?
18th.
18th and Vine. Award-winning journalist. We're proud to call him a friend of the show. We also keep your links on the podcast page. So when people go onto the podcast page, the weekly episodes, your links to the episodes and how to connect with you at your website, we keep that on our podcast. So we do that because, we never know when we have to call on you like today. But it is this is actually the first week of Black History Month, our first Black History Month episode. And we're referring to it as Black History, Black Future. And, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do Mike's news because a lot of what you have to talk about is encompassed in Mike's news. So we'll do the news and we'll come back right after this, y'all.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
A judge has rejected a plea deal for 2 of the convicted killers in the Ahmaud Arbery murder. This is the separate federal hate crimes case. Arbery's parents expressed their objections to the deal through their attorney as soon as they learned about it. The deal would have allowed Gregory and son Travis McMichael to serve their life sentences in federal prison. Federal prisons are generally safer, less crowded, and better funded than state facilities. Arbery's parents also want all of the men tried for hate crimes. Wanda Cooper Jones, Arbery's mother, called the plea deal very disrespectful. The third man charged with hate crimes, William Roddy Bryan, was not mentioned in the plea deal. The number of HBCUs receiving bomb threats continued to grow this week. As of last night, more than a dozen schools had to shut down for a period of time because of the threats. No devices were recovered. The list of schools includes Fort Valley State University. The FBI said in a statement that they are aware of the series of bomb threats around the country and that they are working with their law enforcement partners to address any potential threats. The threats this week came after at least 8 historically black colleges faced similar threats on January 5th. Thankfully, all of the earlier threats proved to be unfounded. A new poll is out with 77% of people saying that President Biden should consider all possible nominees to fill the open Supreme Court seat. As you know, Mr. Biden has pledged to pick a black woman. And White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says,
what we can assure the American public of, wherever they fell on that poll, is that he will choose and nominate someone who has impeccable credentials and is eminently qualified.
The poll, an ABC Ipsos poll. And former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores is suing the team for firing him. Plus, his class action suit includes the NFL, the Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants. It alleges discrimination in reference to the interview process. The NFL has responded to the lawsuit by former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores. Flores accused the NFL and 3 teams of racial discrimination. The NFL says the claims in the lawsuit are without merit. In a statement, the league adds that they are deeply committed to ensuring equitable employment practices. Flores also claims Dolphins team owner Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 for each team loss in 2019 in an attempt to strengthen the value of the Dolphins draft pick. The Daily Beast is reporting that the co-hosts of The View are not happy about ABC's decision to suspend Whoopi Goldberg for saying that the Holocaust was not about race. In fact, it was. Goldberg has apologized and admitted she was wrong. There are reports that she is also upset about the suspension and may quit the show.
Wow. I want to talk to you about that, Tanya B, when we get to the tea. I want to ask you about Whoopi. Okay. But that's, that'll be a conversation for the tea. But again, I want to welcome political legal analyst Harold Michael Harvey. And first thing first, and I don't want to dominate the whole conversation with this, Mr. Harvey, but what does this Brian Flores lawsuit mean to you right now?
It means that time's up. It means that no longer can owners of professional sports team pretend to want to be to give head coaching positions to black coaches. You can't pretend that anymore. Time's up on that. That dog won't hunt anymore. Basically that suit says that just because you have the Rooney Rule, which says that before an owner can make a hire, they have to at least interview black coaches for the position. Well, so they did that. They'll call in a black, but they know who they want to hire. And people in all walks of life tend to want to work closely with people who they have something in common with. So you have 70% of the players in the National Football League who are black, and you only have one head coach. But I think the fact that Flores has taken a stand, time's up for that. When a black professional man tells you that he has been discriminated against in the workplace, he ought to be believed. So it's time up. It's time up for sugarcoating this situation about placing black men in leadership. Black men are capable of leading any organizations, any professional sport teams, that you have. Blacks can be quarterbacks. They just seem to say that that blacks can't be placed in a leadership position, and we've been leading the world throughout our existence.
Well,
so time up.
Yeah. With that said, I want to transition. It's Black History Month. You just turned 70. Okay. We're struggling with voting rights. People are questioning why black women need to be on the Supreme Court. Many feel the events of January 6th, the insurrection, was just a mere political discourse, and they should be pardoned. Has the grand experiment of democracy just gone past? Has it failed?
Well, democracy failed back in the late 1700s when the Continental Congress got together to decide what form this government would take. And when they began to discuss what to do with the people that they had brought here and bought and sold and enslaved, and they determined that those who were in that classification had to remain in that classification. How can you have democracy? Democracy means that when a city-state comes together, that every citizen in that society has a vote in terms of what the community does. But you had a group of people who were excluded from the process. So we never had a democratic society here. Black Americans have been pushing for democracy since 1619. And so, to say that it's falling apart now, no. It fell apart in the beginning. We never had it because the founding fathers failed to address the issue.
Yeah. Because they were slave owners.
They were slave owners. They didn't want to get rid of the thing that was bringing them wealth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you wrote the book, My C.T. Vivian Story, and he was, C.T. Vivian, rest in power, rest in peace. He's no longer with us. He was your neighbor, a
Yeah.
couple of houses down in the SWAT. What and your conversations with Mr. Vivian. If he were a young C.T. Vivian in 2022, what do you think he'd be saying, and who do you think he'd be supporting?
CT would, if CT,
Because you talked to him up until his death, so I'm sure he had conversations, and you don't have to share, anything, closely that, intimately that you guys have talked about when it comes down to this country. But take away what I'm saying from the question.
well,
What do you think?
he would be doing what he did when he was 20 years old, only more of it. CT was about doing what was right. CT was about supporting people who were right. CT was about bringing democracy and justice to America. So that's what he did in the 96 years that God allowed him to traverse the earth. And if he had come in a later time, and let's say he came 20 years ago and he was a 20-year-old young man, what would he be doing? He'd be doing what he did because the problems that he engaged 50, 60 years ago are the same problems that the current generation is faced with. So he'll be doing what he did. He'll just be doing more of it.
Well, considering, let's take it from that point. Considering my question about Mr. C.T. Vivian, if he were young today, do you think the civil rights movement, the civil rights generation, that era, has misjudged their achievements? I mean,
No.
because and the reason I say that is you'll hear a millennial or a Gen Z call out boomers every day.
Because they don't know. Because they don't know.
And I'm just here to tell you, ain't a whole lot of love
I know. I understand it.
for the boomers coming from that level, for coming from that angle. Maybe the Gen X is somewhere in between. But what are your thoughts when you hear that?
Well, it's sort of like me and my generation saying to my great grandfather, who was sold on a slave auction block in Hawkinsville, Georgia, in 1947. Man, if I'd been back there, I wasn't gonna be no slave. Well, hell, that was the society that he was in, and he made the best of it, so that I could, in my time, make the best of it. So we every generation has a role to play, and did we miss it? No, I mean. When I was born, you couldn't drink at the same water fountain that a white person could. You couldn't sit in a restaurant and have a meal that a white person could sit in and have. You couldn't ride in the front of the bus, whether that was a local city bus or the Greyhound or the Trailway that may have come through your hometown. And to say that we shattered that, the law of the land when I was born, and for much of the 20th century, beginning in 1896, was that the country, that segregation was legal and lawful.
Yeah.
And this generation tore that down and created a new law so that the millennials and these X's and Z's and whatever else you got behind me could come along and then fashion a life out of that. And until the cops went crazy and choked out Gardner in New York and Michael Brown in St. Louis, this generation didn't realize they had a problem because of the work that boomers had done. Because we changed that narrative, we changed the world. My generation changed the world. And if you're younger than I am and you can't understand and appreciate that and understand how you can springboard from what we did, like we springboard from what people did, do it from Reconstruction to when they enacted, when Reconstruction ended, and when the Supreme Court legalized segregation, what we did to break down those barriers. I mean, don't laugh at me and say that we were fools and we missed the mark if you want to, But if you want to make the 21st century your century, and I believe that the 21st century is the century of people of color or black people. And if you want to make that century your century, you better stop poo-pooing what the millennials did and get on that back and springboard over
Or
into
the boomers, or what the boomers did.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me ask you, what do you feel we need to do to clear this path, to make it clearer for the younger generations? I mean, for the boomers and your generation, which is partly, I mean, I got 1 foot in that generation. I mean, I'm kind of an ex-boomer, but my question is, what can be done to clear the path? You say, and I agree with you. I think a lot of path has been cleared. We're not finished, but what do we do to actually push this thing forward? If we're right on the brink, what do we do next?
What do we do next?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for my generation to do what's to be done next. Because the world that will be created in the future is a world that will be created by younger people. And younger people have to figure out what they need to do. But my only point is that you have to understand what the generation before you actually accomplished.
Yeah. So true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So true.
And I think one thing that's key is the ignorance, and then it puts us in a comfort zone when we think we've already arrived. Yes, there have been a lot of accomplishments, but when we learn what America was built on and how we stand in this world, yes, we're a capitalistic country, but we also a country with a high end of poverty and a high end of wealth. And when we don't know like that our ancestors, like Dr. Harvey was speaking of, were capital, we were the what do you call it? Like the collateral for the founding fathers of this country to build their houses and all these structures, these antebellum plantations. We've got to learn that we still have work to do. But if we don't get that knowledge on where we've come from, then we're just gonna feel like, hey, we've arrived. We're straight.
Amen.
Until the next Gardner,
Yeah.
Aubrey, something like that happens.
I mean, we've just had another situation, the situation in Minneapolis, which, before you leave, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, Weil. This no-knock warrant in Minneapolis that just occurred. It is gaining so much or garnering or getting so much attention because of the fact that it happened at ground zero. It happened in Minneapolis where George Floyd was killed and murdered.
Yep.
So you've got a situation now where this young man in his bed sleeping had a gun, but had a right to own his gun, was killed by the police who charged in, no-knock warrant, but yet he wasn't even the target. He wasn't the one. So another quote unquote mistake made. So, while you mentioned that, I mean, it's just like it doesn't, that's what it takes to get people riled up again, and it's sad that it takes that, another death.
But you know what, Tommy?
Well, that's a sad commentary.
Go.
May I cut you off, Wild, for a minute?
Well, it's Tanya B. That was Tanya B. Go ahead.
Tanya B, can I cut you
Go
off for
right
just a
ahead. Go right ahead.
So here's the sad thing about this younger generation. You're gonna sit around and not get upset until somebody is killed and murdered senselessly.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, what you have to understand is, and what C.T. Vivian understood is that the goal was freedom. What Martin understood was that the goal was freedom. It wasn't integration. It wasn't really per se to be able to sit at the lunch counter. It was the only reason you wanted to be able to sit at the lunch counter because they said you couldn't do it. And we said, well, why not? But the goal was always to be free and independent and able to take care of yourself. It's not to have a wad of money in your pocket or in your bank account, or what you ride in or what you live in. That's not what the game is all about. The game is freedom, being able to determine your life and the type of life that you want to live. The framers of the Constitution said it correctly. They just didn't include us. They said every man is endowed with the right to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just didn't include, black people in that, but that's the goal. That's what we
Yeah.
all want. And so to me, they can call me boomer and call me out and say whatever they want to say
I'm not
about
saying that's
our.
everybody, but
I understand that. I
so,
understand, but I hear the chatter.
yeah, you do.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm not addressing just what you said, but I know the chatter's out there.
Hmm.
But when you hear that chatter, and then you have to get all upset when somebody dies, and then after a few months go by, all that energy is dissipated, and you still haven't solved the problem, because the problem will persist as long as the cops know that they have a legal right to shoot and kill any black person that they want to. The goal is, how do you stop that white individual from thinking that he can take the life of any black person whenever he wants to? That's the goal. It's not marching in the street and saying we want this guy's job. Hell no. What you want is to have a society where the color of your skin is not a death warrant.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what you want. That's what the fight is all about. So these young whippersnappers, you can't tell me nothing. You can't criticize anything that we brought to the table, or the
Yeah.
old fogey ideas that you may think we have. Let me tell you one of the last things that CT Vivian told me about this current generation behind
Hmm.
us.
Okay.
He said they got it all wrong. He said they got it all wrong, and I think when I asked him about it, was a year before he died,
Hmm.
on the evening of his 95th birthday. I asked him what did he think about Black Lives Matter, and he said they got it all wrong. Violence is not the way. See, Vivian was so smart that he knew that he knew from Selma, Alabama, if he provoked a Southern sheriff to punch him on the courthouse steps, that punch that he took without swinging back would force the President of the United States of America to sign a Voter Rights Act before the end of that summer. He
Hmm.
knew that. Now you can say he was a fool for getting hit and not fighting back, but that beating the sheriff wasn't the object.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting the vote for black people was the goal, and he baited. He told Sheriff Clark that he thought he was as big a bigger racist as Hitler. And then in
Wow.
the next breath, he turned around and told him, "But you're not a bigger racist as Hitler." And that infuriated that guy so, because he thought he was a bigger racist than Hitler. And when Vivian told him that he wasn't, it angered him so much so he sucker punched him.
Hmm.
Vivian took that punch, and
Wow.
at the end of the summer, we had the 1965 Voters' Rights Act. So, I mean, that's power.
Yeah.
He
So
said they
true.
got it all wrong.
Hmm. Good
I
point.
like the energy, but they got it all wrong. And
Yeah.
so there is something that you guys that they can learn from this generation.
Good.
That's all I got
Excellent.
to say about that.
Well, let me give you your applause, sir. Definitely, without a doubt. Thank you so much.
May I speak now? May I
Yeah,
speak?
go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
And I
One
can hear you
thing.
too. Go
Okay.
ahead.
One thing I want to say about this generation now, these Y, Z, whatever you call these children now, they get what I call microwave mad. The minute somebody gets hit, shot, or done wrong, they get mad. Just like when you take something out of a microwave, it comes out hot and then it cools off. They get mad. They go on about their business. Then something happens and they get mad again. The thing I see with these young people is, unlike the C.T. Vivians and the Dr. Kings and the Joseph Lowrys and those activists, they were consistent. These kids are not consistent, so nobody takes them seriously when they do get mad. Number one. Number two, the reason why white folks kill us and they think they can get away with it is because of the way that we treat each other. Okay,
Say it,
number
sis.
one. Number two. Number three, let's talk about that. And you talk about the N word. A lot of us know, the history of that word. But you have these X's and Y's out here. Every other word in a rap song is N. And it's not a hit record till they put the N word in there. And I'm going to call her out right now. I had a young lady that worked for me. Her name is Amanda Seal. She's on Insecure and on some other. She had a HBO comedy special. And to this day, she gives me shade because I basically chin checked her in a corporate environment where she was letting the N bombs fly very freely around people that don't look like us. And she told me I didn't understand the culture. I'm like, heifer, you don't know the history of the word, okay? Let's get that real clear right now, okay? And then I said, you know what? I said, I would have rather to have chin checked you in front of them and had you keep your job because they told me to fire you behind. But I stood up for you. These young people don't know the history of ish, okay? So, to that I say, so you think it's okay to drop N-bombs like you dropping, candy corn on the floor at Halloween, but then let somebody who's not of a black or brown persuasion say it, then you want to fight, and get your panties in a snit, and want to raise up and jump back and be bad when somebody else says it. They do it because they see you think it's okay. So if they do it, then I can do it and it's okay. No, the hell it's not.
Yeah, so true.
Period.
Let me give you your applause too, Tanya B.
Get my pressure up in here. I know it's fun. And I'm a Christian,
there you go.
but I'm not going to bite my tongue. That is the problem. You're microwave mad. So you know what? Until you stop being microwave mad, and like I said, you don't see John Lewis didn't stop. C.T. Vivian didn't stop. Joseph Laurie didn't stop. Hell, Fannie Lou Hamer didn't stop. Rosa Parks didn't stop. And that's why things happen where they did. You saw that movie about the Montgomery bus boycott where it was inconvenient, but for a year, people got together, they gave people rides, they went here, they went there, and they did not take the bus. These millennials out here, 5 minutes after the Uber's late, they want to have a mental meltdown. Miss me with that.
Let me stop her right there. Harold Michael Harvey, how can people connect with you? She done called out about the Ubers. She going
HM Harvey and HaroldMichaelHarvey.com.
All that they, you got to meet them. That's all they understand. They don't know anything. They can't spell boycott. Half of them. They can't spell boycott. Okay.
Well, give it to us one more time. And by the way, if you go to the podcast notes, your article, the actual link to your articles is there as well as your website. But for the sake of the podcast, give it to us one more time in the website. One more time.
The website is HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. My name.com. I'm a .com. HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. And you can email me at hmharvey@haroldmichaelharvey.com. And I love to hear from you. Love to chat with you, see what you think about what I think, and find out what's on your mind.
Excellent.
Talk about it.
As always, and you're a friend of the show. You can come back anytime. But we appreciate you kicking off Black History Month with us, and have a great February. It's Black History Month every month for us. 365. So, we just acknowledge the fact that the fact that it is. We've got the month officially, but it's 365, man. It's every day, every podcast.
You know what I would say?
It keeps
right
on
now,
going.
Tommy
It keeps
B?
on going. What's that, Tanya B?
All you young people, you XYZ children out there, I challenge you to read Harold Michael Harvey's books and see what you don't know. Help yourself and get educated. They might think, oh, he wrote Freaknik Lawyer. Well, he was a Freaknik. No, you don't understand what he did at Freaknik to help people. Probably some of those people you went and defended back then are probably alive today because of you. But all y'all want to do is party and Tootsie Roll, okay?
So true.
Read a book. How about that? Read a book. Kids,
Read a book
if you can. Read a book.
All right, y'all. Y'all give it up one more time for Harold Michael Harvey. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
If you're in Macon, Georgia, on February the 16th, I'll be speaking over at Middle Georgia College,
Georgia State University
in Macon.
Better get it right.
Off of Eisenhower Parkway. It's going to be a special treat. In fact, I'm planning something special. I hope she's not listening.
Don't tell nobody. No, that's what I said. All right, y'all. Y'all give it up. Y'all give it up again before you mess up. Give it up again for Harold Michael. All right, y'all. Let's take a break and we'll come back with that tea from Tanya B. We'll be right back, y'all.
time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
Okay. My pressure's down now. My pressure's down. I'm ready. She ready. Now, Tommy B, you need to unmute yourself, okay? Can you hear me? Well, I see my mic sounds nice. All right, now let me just talk. First of all, I want to start off, and this is just in right as we come to the podcast. Again, those of you that have skin in the game and you know anything about the soul music that came out of Memphis, Tennessee back in the 60s and 70s, then you'll join me in mourning the loss of Johnson, singer Selena Johnson. But and he came up out of that 1960s, 70s, I call it the Memphis Soul Stew. Okay, you catch that tea if you're old enough. But Syl Johnson wrote songs like "Here I Come Back for a Taste of Your Love," "Dress Is Too Short," and he wrote a song that young people need to go and listen to, and it's called "Is It Because I'm Black?" That came out around like 1968 or so. Tommy, you remember that song? "Is It Because I'm Black" by Syl Johnson? Just shake your head, yes or no. Okay, and he was sampled by a lot of artists, everybody from De La Soul to Michael Jackson. He actually sued to get his royalties, and I don't blame him. But he also came up out of that camp in the late 60s, early 70s with Willie Mitchell and High Records, which was the home of Al Green. That was, again, independent label. So we just send out our prayers and positive vibes to Selena Johnson, her sister Celicia, and the Johnson family. Syl Johnson was 85 years old. And if you remember, if you want to catch Syl Johnson, he was quite a colorful character. There were 2 episodes that the family did on Iyanla Fix My Life. And Iyanla Van Zant chin checked Syl Johnson. I love that part. So rest in peace to Syl Johnson. All right.
Good deal. No, go ahead.
The whole Super Bowl thing. I know we talked about the thing with buying Flores, and now the NFL has a really bad PR problem right now. You've got the Super Bowl is coming up, and it's funny, this is the blackest Super Bowl I think we've ever had. You've got Mary singing the Negro, I hate to say the Negro, lift every voice and sing. And you've got Janae Aiko, and I guess we'll see if she can sing. And then you've also got the country sensation. This young lady, Mickey Guyton, is really turning the country music world on its ear. And I mean, she's a keeper. So they're going to be performing. You've got the Super Bowl halftime show, which we've all talked about with, and now there's some morons out there saying that it's un-American for the NFL to have Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar perform at the Super Bowl.
Why? What's un-American about it?
You know what it is? That's a narrative that they can't control.
Really.
I mean, I know, but look at it like this. What's un-American, I guess, because they still think of, gangster rap and, F the police and
Lord.
Cop
Well, look
at
what some of these artists, I mean, the history of the performers on the Super Bowl, and some of the crimes and some of the things they have not been punished for. So
right.
no, come on.
Exactly. And I think also another thing is, if you look at the collective economic power of those 5 people, I know Eminem, I guess he gets a Robin Thicke bus pass or whatever, but even if you took him out of the equation, the economic power and the global appeal of artists like Dr. Dre and Snoop, who appeal to a lot of suburban white kids.
Yes. That's how they made their money in the 90s.
Yes, right. And I think they're afraid of that. Oh my God, oh Lord. So it's going to be interesting, And again, I still think this whole Belichick thing was not an accident. I think he did it on purpose, and he's opened up that can of worms. So I hope he has his house in order, because up and through what I've heard, allegedly, that when all of this greasy behavior is brought to the surface, that he may be involved in it, as well as Tom Brady, who for 2 weeks got kicked off the national headlines by on the East Coast, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
So we shall see. I don't care who's playing. All I know is halftime show, and I'm making a seafood boil. Okay, now let's talk about film and TV. You got Colin Kaepernick is actually doing a documentary produced by Jamel Hill, formerly of ESPN, on Colin Kaepernick, and it kind of picks up, after the Netflix situation where it's like, he is a biracial child raised and adopted by white people. And this particular document focus on not just his mixed race heritage, but him going from high school, going
Yeah,
to
and this is
college,
supposed to
going
be
to the NFL.
Yeah, whereas you had the Netflix is scripted, this is unscripted, and this is what
Exactly.
directed by Spike Lee too, right?
Yeah,
Spike
yeah,
is
and produced
Spike
by
involved.
Jamel Hill. Yeah, so that should be interesting. So I wonder, how much of the actual, the blackballing they're going to show that's still being done to Cap, because he took a knee for a lot of things that again these microwave kids are getting mad about today. Okay,
But let me make an observation though.
make an observation.
When it comes down to this week with Flores, one of the things I admired about him coming out like this was the fact that he showed up on Monday morning. You know what I'm saying? He had his attorneys with him, but he was there. You know what I'm saying? He was there making the rounds on Today, all the talk shows, on Rev Al this weekend. He's out front with these allegations. And that was my challenge with Cap. I've always said in the beginning, I wish that he would have actually been out there like Flores is out there. I wish he had been out there just like that. More of a spokesperson.
Yeah,
it's good that he's doing this now, but I think if he had did this in the beginning, it would have had more impact.
Oh yeah, and
but
I also
I'll leave it at
think
that. Not that he was
Flores-
wrong. I never said he was wrong.
No.
But I just wish he had been more out front. But go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of receipts Flores starts to produce, especially when it comes back to throwing the games for six figures to lose this game and that, and and if that is the case, of course the owners are going to deny it. But I don't think he's the only one that was presented.
Oh yeah, I mean Hugh. You've got Hugh. What's his name? Hugh Jackson, who was with Cleveland for years, has made allegations allegedly. There are a few coaches who, I mean, this thing runs deep, and it's funny. I'd hope that that K-Dub had made it this show, because K-Dub is our lead conspiracist. He's the conspiracy theory king.
Oh yeah.
So he had conspiracy theories.
Everything's a conspiracy.
But he had more conspiracy theories about these wins and losses in these games than anybody. So I'm sure he's like over there just shaking his head. But one more thing, and then I want to move from this, because I promise we wouldn't. There's so much that needs to come out, and I don't want to spend a whole show on it. But one of the things about Flores, he's a first gen. His parents were immigrants from he's Honduran. Okay, he went to private schools. He had a level of privilege, I think, that a typical black coach, somebody who just, hood, multiple generations, didn't have. So when this happened to him, it was even more of a shock. Whereas, if somebody like me, who's seen it or felt it and dealt with it most of our lives, we wouldn't be as shocked by it. Not saying that we wouldn't do what he did, but I think that because I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from, someone with his type of background, because I think that they don't always see what America has been about until it happens to them in their face.
In their face. Secret. Yeah. And I also think because of him with the allegation of, game fixing, I wonder, because it's happened in college sports, and I'm sure there are some players who were probably given money to, to throw a game as well. So, it's a can of worms. It's a can of worms.
It's a huge can. I mean, and for it to happen now, Tanya B, is massive. This is the biggest platform with the Super Bowl. This is international. This is much bigger. If it had happened maybe during the summer, preseason, probably not as big, but considering that it's happening right before the Super Bowl, what a platform. What a stage.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. What else you got?
Also want to tell you, if you haven't checked it out, if you have Amazon Prime, yes, they are raising their prices, but they have a 3-part documentary called Fat Tuesday. It's the I guess the intersection, if you will, of hip hop in the 90s and comedy, produced by Reginald Hudlin, who gave us House Party, and Guy Torrey. So it's very interesting how a lot of these comedians that are really on our A list, like the Bernie Macs and the Steve Harveys and the Bill Bellamy's and all those guys from Def Comedy Jam, they got their start at Fat Tuesday at the the Comedy Store, a night when they thought nobody would come out, and it was the most highly attended night that they had there. And again, if you think about it, hip hop in the '90s, just like Def Comedy Jam, there was a marriage there. So I think it's worth watching. So check that out. I also I have a DVR. I'm gonna no spoiler alert because I got to go watch it tonight. But did you watch the most recent installment of ABC Soul of a Nation about the black actresses in Hollywood?
No, I've not seen it.
I've seen bits of it, but I mean, it's just all these iconic roles and iconic actresses, and I think that they didn't do them justice because they should have given it more than 45 minutes because our black actresses have made many more accomplishments than could fit into 45 minutes. You've got everybody from, Halle Berry, you got Marla Gibbs, you got Debbie Allen, you got Tessa Thompson, even Jackie Harry talked. Just talking about their struggles and, a few of the triumphs. And even Halle Berry said, even though she'd won an Oscar, she still had to prove herself for any role that she's ever gotten. And that's why a lot of these black actresses are starting to produce, and even some of them will put their houses up as collateral to mortgage to get these films made because you always had somebody like a Harvey, the perv Weinstein, who would block what they were doing.
Yeah.
So they're, doing it on their own. So, please check that out. Soul of a Nation.
But you know what? Let me. Black actresses, in my opinion, still Tanya B, are the most disrespected people in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
And the reason I say that is
Absolutely.
because they've done so much, and they still don't get paid. And the reason I say that is when you can go to Forbes, you can go to the Forbes top 10 list, and you'll only see maybe top 20, maybe two. Okay,
Oprah.
black women, and that's ridiculous. I'm talking about Forbes when it comes down to black actresses.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you look at the top 5, and you see these young actresses in the top 3. These young white actresses who really
Jennifer Aniston, who ain't had a hit movie since she left Friends.
they do the same type of roles every movie.
Jennifer Aniston, it's
pretty
a
much.
perfect
Well,
example.
Aniston's one of them, but there's so many.
Anne
that
Hathaway,
you
the
see.
girl
Oh
married
yeah.
Tom Cruise. What's her name? Tom Cruise girl.
But you'll only see Viola Davis maybe. Halle has barely. But it's just in the Weinstein, the whole Me Too situation, it benefited the white actresses a whole lot more than it benefited the black actresses.
Microwave mad. Black people they were all mad. Vivica Fox, they were mad. All those girls.
But it's more like it's institutional racism that we've got to.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gonna take more than one of us. We got to sit down and we got to plan.
And that's only right.
Yeah.
Luckily, Viola Davis, who struggled for years and probably still struggling, she can go get a coin and she can bankroll her own movie. Queen Latifah, multiple streams of income. I mean, really, when she came up, she had to find ways to get her coin to do what she does. A lot of these people, I don't think Tessa Thompson, although, she's had some great roles, I don't see that she's got the coin like a Viola Davis or a Queen Latifah or even a Debbie Allen to be able to fund their own projects. So that's why a lot of them are starting now to pool their resources and their finances to try to get things done because otherwise it's probably not going to happen. So
I'm just here to tell you though,
out.
Tanya B, on the real, and I've been saying this even when we were reporting, years ago on the Harvey Weinstein situation. Even though there's been some, I guess some compensation. I still don't think black women have benefited from the Me Too movement in Hollywood. Nowhere near.
Tarana Burke, no tea, no shade.
So you got a lot of these women who still are not in the top 10 when it comes down to Forbes and the roles. They can say all they want when it comes down to box office, but a lot of these women who are in the top 10 haven't seen a box office hit in since what since the new millennial.
Hills, since Melrose Place, since Friends. Let's move on.
So I'll leave it at that. What you got next?
One thing. Are you ready for the Color Purple, the movie musical? Back on board again. Oprah, Steven Spielberg, Quincy Jones. But it's going to be an interesting cast because you've got Fantasia reprising the role of Celia that she played on Broadway. You've got again another one who's in The Good Fight too as well. Taraji P. Henson is in the movie. Danielle Brooks, who played Mahalia Jackson in the Lifetime movie. And her is going to make her big screen debut. She's playing the character Squeak. So it's not going to come until the end of 2023, but it'll be interesting to see how this movie again. How the original movie was blackballed back in the day.
Because Spielberg directed it, and they felt that there should have been more black direction
Well,
involved
like I
in.
said, Oprah's
Yeah.
involved in,
NAACP.
I think Whoopi Goldberg's going to be involved in some way or another. So it'll be interesting to see the parallel of the Color Purple 1996 and the Color Purple 2023. Okay.
Well, let me say in 2022, y'all got plenty of time to get this right. Don't mess it up. Because West Side Story, and this is going to be a musical. You
Yeah.
know, it's going to be a musical. So
but
take notes
again,
from
again,
notes from how West Side Story
Right.
went bad.
that was about
Take notes.
the Latina population. Now we got another, a black and brown movie coming over here. So, we'll see what happens. But one thing I'm absolutely positively ready for is this is supposed to be the ultimate documentary, not just on the sound of Philadelphia. Because when you hear that, you think of Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff. There was another person that was very than that, and they were called the Mighty Three. That was Gamble, Huff, and Tom Bell, who wrote a lot of the hits with the Delphonics. He did the Stylistics in the '70s. So all of those. So it's really, I really hope they do it justice, and I'm ready for that because I love a good music documentary. But yeah, and you think of all the people that came from outside of Philadelphia. They came from all over the world just to record in Philadelphia. So
TSOP was so smooth, man.
yeah, there's
that was
something
just
in
that era.
in the water going down Broad Street, where the TSOP studios were. That still is there today, and I think it's part of the global culture because I listen to a station over in the UK called Retro Soul Radio, and I cannot tell you how much music that they play from the TSOP and a lot of music that you never even heard over in this country. There's much more of an appreciation, like the 3 Degrees, who we know from the voices of TSOP and Dirty Old Man, When Can I See You Again? They were 10 times more popular overseas and could do arenas and stadiums, but over here they were doing like the Sugar Shack Club. So it'll be interesting. And
TSOP, let me say, you can go to Amazon Music has a TSOP playlist. And I'm telling you, that sound is just so plush, man. And it was a difference, I guess, between you being in the Northeast or North versus South. When it came down to sound. But I'm here to tell you, I mean, it was the smoothest sound on earth. Big orchestra.
That was it.
I could listen to that all day, man.
Listen,
I listen to that all day.
Real musicians that rather than what's out here now, real musicians, and also got to give it up to Earl Young, the drummer from the TSOP drummer, who was the one that invented what they call that 4 on the floor beat. That a lot of people try to imitate, but didn't really quite get it. So I hope this will be the ultimate, and you can't go wrong with a gambling. They could sing the phone book, and there were those songs before TSOP in the '70s came out. They did, remember that song Your Heart? I know you weren't born, sis.
You're going too deep for me. You're going too deep for me.
The Soul Survivors.
Don't worry about it, Wild.
To Your Heart. I'm not
oh yeah. Expressway to Your Heart.
Yeah. Gambling Huff wrote that. They also wrote, remember all those hits from the Cowboys to Girls back in the day.
Hey, that's the album. Why
The Intruders.
That's the album. The late night. No, brother. You gotta get your own.
yeah.
Cowboys to Girls.
I remember that. I don't. I didn't live through it. I remember.
Shoot 'em up.
Bang, bang.
Y'all, we have not been inhaling anything. But yeah, so, again, so they take it back to that. There was a lot that Gamble and Huff put out before, the whole, I guess that sound of Philly really exploded, so to speak.
That sound was awesome. I still love it. What else you got?
And then I want to tell you, we're going to go. Okay, I'll be real quick.
Take your time. Take your time.
The Secrets of Playboy. I stumbled upon this by accident. It's on A&E, and they talk about Hugh Hefner. He was I'm pro woman, pro this, pro that. He was a narcissist. He was actually not. He had this reputation that he wanted to protect. So what he would do, no matter who came to that Playboy mansion back in the '60s and '70s, he recorded everything. So that's why you never heard anything bad about Playboy, because he would dangle, "Oh, I got this on tape about you, so you can't do this to me." Again, when you have somebody who, grown man, at that time he was divorced from his first wife, but the thing that really two things turned my stomach. One was when he attempted to have a threesome with his current girlfriend at the time and his best friend's teenage daughter. I'm like, okay, he's a pedophile, illegal. Right? Okay, exactly. That and the fact that he would try to clean everything up, and a lot of those women were not protected. A lot of them were, well, why'd you go there? A lot of them were young, came from, Bumble, Wyoming, no teen. everybody in Wyoming, looking for the big time. And that at that time was a very hard to get, very prestigious job, but they were not treated right. The other thing that one of the female executives said, had Hefner lived a few more months, he would have been caught up in the Me Too movement to the level of like a Harvey Weinstein. That's how much crap was going on there. So, it's much bigger than Bill Cosby. They even put Don Cornelius on blast and some of the things that he was alleged to have done to women at the Playboy Mansion, took him to his house and his Rolls Royce. And, men would do things like that to women. They would, rape, assault, sodomize, and they would get away with it. And they said, well, if you do this, then we're going to take away your Playboy key. And they said Don Cornelius and everybody else, not just him, not just Bill Cosby, a lot of people that people were probably holding very high esteem, are back and they're doing the same thing. So I would say it was interesting to watch. So Hugh Hefner is not.
Well, too little, too late. They're dead.
Right, and
Cornelius.
right. And
Hef.
a lot of people in that they talk about are dead, but they can't just. But just to show just how much of a narcissist this man really was, and how much of a fake he was. You know what? Let him burn.
They were really sex trafficking. Honestly,
They really were. They really were.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they would send them from city to city and country to country. Yeah, and they would say, well, you weren't supposed to, you couldn't touch the girls in the club, but if you caught them out back in the alley, some of those girls were getting raped. And
Wow.
oh no, here's the gag: they wouldn't rape them like what we know rape to be. This is the thing. They would sodomize them so they wouldn't get them pregnant and they couldn't talk. Now, if that's not
crazy.
sick, I don't know what
That's
is.
crazy.
Okay.
Move on, Tanya
So,
B.
I know.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear no
I'm
more
saying
about
it's
Hef.
not in defense of Bill Cosby and Don Cornelius. It's way bigger
I don't wanna
than
hear
them.
no
They
more
put
about
them out there to cover up their other crap that they were doing. Okay, let's
Yeah.
talk
What you
about
got next?
real quick.
You got enough. You got the garbage at the bottom. Go ahead.
I know. Okay, well then I'll just say Nick. He's not celibate. He's not listening to his therapist. Do you know before baby Zen died in December, that's the one with Alyssa Scott, the baby that died, he had already gotten Johnny Manziel's ex-wife pregnant, but she's looking for a check because now Johnny's money's gone and she done moved on. And now he's trying to, backpedal and apologize because he claims it came out in the press before he could tell all of them. And Alyssa Scott, and I know, you know what you were signing up for, honey, because he just after that baby was buried, he moved on because he already had somebody else pregnant before he even knew baby Zen was going to die. Allegedly, my ass. I saw the pictures. But anyway, here's the thing. You think about all these women, that have these babies, and for the most part, they're healthy. But Alyssa Scott had a baby that had, brain cancer at a very young age, and she's still going through it, and he has left her and moved on. So they don't think about the part about what if the baby is not completely healthy. So now she's struggling. She's got postpartum, and she's really going through it. Plus you've got COVID and the other things that are going on. And I think he's gonna have to apologize to his kids, because when these kids grow up, they're gonna see all this. So if they don't mess with him and they leave him after he can't work 10 jobs a day, because like I said, okay, you've got 8 kids, it's 24 hours in a day, you've got 10 jobs. It's not just about sending money. What kind of father, hands-on father, could he possibly ever hope to be? He can't do it.
I got you. All right. Well,
Okay.
yeah, cool,
I got one
Tanya
more
B.
thing I want to say.
All right, let's wrap it with
Okay,
this.
and what I gotta say this, and I meant to mention it last week. About how mental health is really affecting people. You've got Regina King's son who committed suicide. Everyone's still talking about Chesley Chris, the former Miss USA, who had the appearance of having it all. Law degree, MBA. High profile TV job, and she suffered in silence, and she jumped off the 29th floor of a building in New York. And then, another thing that really hadn't made, I guess, a lot of, not national headline news, but again, this mental health piece is very, very important. I know we have, the brother that has the mental health show on this network, which I would encourage people
Vince
to
is going to be
listen
on.
Vince, okay.
He'll be on the show in a couple of weeks. Vince, the
And I
voice
don't know if,
Bailey. Yeah.
right, if you ever heard this, there's a brother who's the mayor of Hyattsville, Maryland. It's outside of D.C. in PG County. I think he was 36 years old, and he put a gun to his head and committed suicide, and he was the mayor. And one of the things he always wanted to do was help people and make a difference. So, I just say check on people, because what you see is not always what you get. These folks were struggling. And, they all took their lives, and, they were all between 26 and 36 years old. And that's really sad. So, people, it's okay if you're not okay. And, don't look at famous people and go, well, they, don't look at Kanye. Don't look at Nick Cannon. Don't look at Lil Uzi Vert. Don't look at these rappers. Kodak Black got a song out now called Gremlins about glorifying taking fentanyl, which is part of what killed Michael K. Williams, who, by the way, they arrested the guys that sold him the drugs. So you can't listen to these people. these children, again, microwave mad, and then they go, oh, that's not. You know what? Yeah, it is your right to express yourself, but I don't condone
Yeah, yeah,
glorifying things like taking fentanyl. We all know Kodak Black's dumb as a box of rocks anyway. I'm
yeah. I
done.
agree. I agree. Good stuff. Thank you, Tanya B. And just a couple of real quick things, and we'll take a break. Janet Jackson documentary, truly impressive. Hopefully, again, we'll keep you up to date on tour. And by the way, just a couple of days ago on Friday, as we tape on a Sunday, 36 years ago, she had released Control. So kudos to Janet.
I did get a chance to watch that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It is without a doubt
Imagine
amazing.
what she didn't say. I mean, we don't really need to see the baby or the estranged husband because they don't. I mean, I respect her right to privacy because people are crazy now. But we
Yeah,
ain't
yeah,
checking for that estranged husband. I really even forgot his name. But it's just
yeah.
very interesting to see. She got the ratings they've had in. I mean,
Oh yeah,
maybe
without a
since
doubt. Did you
defending
did you expect it
surviving R.
not to?
Kelly.
Did you
No,
expect it
but
not to?
no, Janet, she
Yeah,
did the damn thing. I got to give it to her. Let's see what happens with Bobby Brown on May
yeah,
30th.
yeah. Coming up in May. Fantasia, Danielle Brooks. Again, you mentioned the Color Purple movie. That's
Her,
confirmed.
yeah.
And you know, people who should go. Joe Rogan, without a doubt. I'm not going to go into it in depth. Jeff Zucker. Glad to see him leave CNN.
I
And if
know.
if Nick Cannon wants to continue getting the bag for the Masked Singer, he can't have people like Rudy Giuliani on the show.
What
And
in the
that's all.
but
I'm
you
not
know
even gonna
what?
go into it. I'm not gonna justify it.
No, can I
I
just
don't
say?
want
Let
to
me say
say
one
any more
thing.
Tanya B about it. I'm just
No,
saying
I
no.
applaud. I
Don't do it.
applaud Ken
Don't
Jeong.
do it.
You know,
Yeah,
for
without a doubt,
getting
he
up.
should have
And
walked off.
and it wasn't the black folks that walked out. It was I'm sorry, Robin Thicke that walked out. So it just goes to show you, it's not just people of color that
Yeah.
think he's dumb as a bed bug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that, but appreciate you, Tanya B. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. I just got one quick thing before we wrap the show, and but let's go to a quick break. Here we go, y'all. Here we
All
go.
right.
Hey, y'all. Just one thing I do want to talk about, but I want to have Mr. Harvey probably come on and someone who is a police specialist when it comes down to a lot of these things that are happening with no police reform. In a way, the new police shooting, the new debacle in Minneapolis just points to the fact that we need police reform. With this happening in Minneapolis, Ground Zero, I guess our prayers go up to, the family of Amir Locke. During a no-knock entry, police murdered him, and I'd say murdered. In the case, you can have a gun in your household. The big thing here is, and they have the body cam to show that he was shot and killed. According to the attorneys, he wasn't even the target of the no-knock. And that's, the biggest problem I have with a lot of these situations is, and when you look at the press conference with the police chief or the police officials, it's almost as if, well, we made a mistake. Let's come together as a community and move on. But, how many times we got to move on? And my whole point is, with what we're have going on in the country right now, we were promised police reform. We were promised the fact that we'd see some type of voter protection. And I'm not just going to point at one man at the top. I mean, this collectively is a problem that that our communities need to see. Without these reforms, without the fact that there's no database for problematic police in this country. I'm not against the police. I don't think anybody. I'm not on the podcast is looking to see abolishing the police, but we want to know when there are bad police in our community. We want a database so that we won't just keep recycling, these bad, awful police, because all they do is just go from district to district with a new job. And I wouldn't be surprised if you looked at the background of whoever made this. I'm not even going to say it's a mistake. I don't even going to say it's. I'm not going to say it. This situation, I'll guarantee you that this situation was caused by somebody who has a long history of making this type of egregious error. And I'll leave it at that. We'll keep you posted. Again, our prayers go up to the family of Amir Locke, 22-year-old, asleep in his bed, holding his gun, and no knock, boom, they just kill him in bed. So, we can't continue to see this happen in our community.
But you remember there were two no knocks here in Georgia. There was one when they went to the wrong house and they killed like an 80-plus-year-old woman here in Georgia.
Yeah.
They thought they were doing a drug raid. And then remember that one with that little, they call him Baby Bam or whatever? They did the no knock and threw the grenade in and went into the baby's crib and disfigured his face.
It's horrible. And you've, again, no database, no accountability, no level of oversight. It's horrible.
Even Breonna Taylor, we made a clerical error. It should have been 63 and we hit 64. So they went in there and killed that girl because the address was.
Yeah.
There's no accountability for it. And again, they're going to keep killing us because we can't stop killing ourselves. We won't even talk about Chicago.
I'm not even going to get into that part. They need to fix it.
They've been killing us before we've been killing ourselves too. And that's a part of why we killing ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Hey, y'all, go to castropolis.net / This Is the G podcast. Everything you need is there. Give us your feedback. Please share the show as always. Got to say a big thanks again to Harold Michael Harvey. Thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. Let me give him his cheers. Give him the air horn, too. Definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. And you can go to every episode that we actually air on the page. His website is there. So if you forget the email address, forget how to contact him, it's there. Again, please check out the new mix show, castropolis.net, Throwback Alley, Classic R&B Clubhouse, you name it. And when you listen to the Birdwire Saturday nights, 8 p.m. To midnight, leave it on. And from midnight to 6 a.m. I know y'all don't sleep. I know y'all pass out by 10 o'clock, but still, you know. And definitely check out my boy, Rob Redding, Redding News Review, every Sunday from noon to 2. And right after that, from 2 to 6, you can check out Rob. Check me out because we replay the Throwback Alley. Okay.
Tommy D, before you close out, I thought you guys were going to touch bases on Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. Whoopi. Real quick on Whoopi. How do you say it? I will say Whoopi should leave. I think she's served her time on The View, and I don't think she needs The View anymore. I think her movie and appearance career continues to thrive. I just don't think, I think by them suspending her, I think she did enough to apologize. Mm-hmm. And she emotionally and sincerely apologized. If I were her, I'd walk away from the show. I wouldn't stay. Yeah.
I don't think it won't survive. I mean, they haven't been able to replace kooky Meghan McCain, and I think if she were to walk away from that show, that would be the end of The View.
Yeah, I'd leave. I'd get up out of there.
And she didn't really say anything wrong. I think there's just like this red flag or this red light that comes up anytime some race or just, like keywords that trigger, this is insensitive because I'm
gonna say this, YO, considering Whoopi's connections and her relationships over her showbiz career. Mm-hmm. And she came back and apologized, but Whoopi should have known. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Whoopi's been in show business. She's been in business. She's been in show business long enough. And I think she responded as she should have responded. I honestly think this might be, and I honestly think she's been looking for a way out.
It was just words. You have to watch how you use your words. And, it's one thing when somebody says something once and they sincerely apologize. Then you got people out here like, we didn't even talk about that boy on Spotify, but other people consistently and like, oh, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, sorry, sorry. And then you say, okay, you know what? If you think you can say this and all you got to do is say, I'm sorry, and you're not sincere about it, then you
Yeah.
can go kick rocks. I don't think Whoopi Goldberg has, a long record like some of those other people do.
No,
I'm
not
not
at all.
condoning
No,
anything. But again,
no.
it's one thing when you do it one time, but
Yeah.
it's something else when you do it once a day. And with that said, the number of podcasts that Spotify is taking down by him, is increasing. And now they said, with artists want to take their music down on Spotify, it's more difficult to do that when you don't own your masters, especially. But what has also happened is that now subscribers are canceling Spotify, so that's down 20%. So unless they're not gonna care. People will get mad for a minute and go away. But when you hit them in the pocketbook,
Yeah,
that's the
that's what
only way to
happens.
make them listen.
Absolutely. So, why I'm gonna let that be your last, your final thought on Whoopi, okay? All right.
We get a
And
benediction,
and
sis. We need a
no,
I
yeah,
know I
well,
do.
we gonna and I'll go to you, Tanya B. What you got on the final tip?
I'm done. What
Okay.
need I say anymore? Watch
No.
Fat Tuesday. No, you want therapy? Watch Fat Tuesday on Amazon Prime. I'm not getting anything from them, and I'm pissed because the subscription's going up. But check out Fat Tuesday. Help yourself
Gotcha.
and read
Gotcha.
a book. Young people, read a book. Read a book if you can.
Hey,
Get an
give us some
audio.
poetic piece, YL. We'll take whatever you got. Go for it. Just go.
If these railroads could tell stories, percentage of our pains would be unburied. Metro Atlanta towns all around, East Point, Decatur, Lovejoy, and Reynoldstown. Each one has tracks that run through. On them, large apparatus that goes choo choo. Industrial Revolution, a huge breakthrough. But behind that shit lies a lot of voodoo. It made soldiers out of the ancestors, me and you. We're built to last and can show, not tell that that is true. Foundation that we build will last until 2000 plus 2 light years, and that's a fact. We're just like that. Universal, no need for rehearsal. Our style is unique. Take note when you critique, because we're bad. Thoughts we have, you wish you had. Antidotes to help you cope. Open your mind and join the crew. What works for us might not work for you. More time left to make our dreams come true. Why do we do the things we do? For the love. I'll stop it right there.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Hey,
Give it up.
yes.
Appreciate you,
Dude,
YL. Appreciate you, YL. And with that,
You're
episode
welcome.
16. Yeah. Episode 16 is in the can, y'all. And we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.
real.